Welcome into Locked On Phillies, a trade deadline bonanza for the Phillies. A couple moves made and maybe another still to come. We'll update you on everything on today's Locked On Phillies.
You are Locked On Phillies, your daily Philadelphia Phillies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, this is Locked On Phillies. I'm your host, Connor Thomas. Let's get this out of the way. All the niceties, all of the warm-up stuff. Thank you for making Locked On Phillies your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. So much to get into on today's episode. And man, my mind is racing. My phone is going off like a billion times a minute with all these notifications of last-second rumors and deals. We may have some breaking news as I record this, but we're going to start with the moves that the Philadelphia Phillies have already made. And thank goodness I got unlimited texting, unlimited data, and I just want to say God bless Jeff Passan and Ken Rosenthal and John Morrissey and John Heyman, all those guys, and what their phones are probably like right now. And I don't even know how those things are still functioning, but mine is still going, and we've got the notifications for just the Philadelphia Phillies. So let's jump into it. Edmundo Sosa got the trade deadline going for the Philadelphia Phillies a couple days ago. He was acquired by the Phillies from the St. Louis Cardinals. It was for Jojo Romero. Nothing crazy there. Edmundo Sosa, basically just a defensive replacement option. He might start a couple games if injuries happen. He's a depth move, which is nice. A depth defensive player in the infield, not going to give you too much to plate. But okay, that's fine. And you get it for Jojo Romero, who had showed some flashes at the major league level in the past, was in AAA, and didn't really look like he fit in with an improved bullpen. So, hey, whatever. You make that move. But some bigger moves came down today, and we're going to start by jumping in and telling you exactly what the Phillies did today, what they gave up, what they got back, and where those guys slot in. And then in the next segment, well, we're going to talk about, barring some breaking news, of course, because we're recording this at 5:33. There's still 27 minutes left till the deadline. Barring breaking news, we'll talk about what I think about these trades and the thought process behind them from President of Baseball Operations, Dave Dombrowski. And then we're going to just wrap up with an overview of it all. So the first trade that came down, well, it was about 3:30 today when we originally got news of the Phillies finally making a substantial move. A lot of big moves have come down already. The San Diego Padres make the biggest, getting Juan Soto and Josh Bell for a huge package of prospects and some major league ready guys. But Juan Soto and Josh Bell go to the Padres, which is good news for the Phillies because the Cardinals were in on them. And if the Cardinals got Juan Soto, and Josh Bell, they would be tough to compete with for the final wild card spot. But now, well, the Padres are probably uncatchable, but you've got a really good chance if you're the Phillies to make it into that third and final wild card spot. And forgive me if I keep checking my phone because the Phillies are in on a couple starting pitchers that we're still waiting to hear on. Carlos Rodone of the San Francisco Giants, and you're also hearing about Noah Syndergaard of the Los Angeles Angels. So I'll keep you updated on that. But speaking of the Los Angeles Angels, the Phillies made a deal with the Angels earlier today, and that deal was for Brandon Marsh, the 24-year-old center fielder, a young player, not even a full year of MLB service time yet. And what the Phillies gave up was, well, Logan O'Hoppe. Now, Logan O'Hoppe, one of the top 100 prospects on the Major League Baseball list there, one of the Phillies' top prospects, a catcher who is currently in Double-A, has been as high as Triple-A in the past. And Logan O'Hoppe, I just saw this on Twitter before I hopped on to record, well, he has now become the Angels' top prospect in their minor league system. So, yeah, you gave up a pretty substantial prospect for a guy in Brandon Marsh who's young, who the knock on him would be that he doesn't look like a plus major league bat or maybe even an average major league bat at this point, but gives you great defense, has great speed, is a young player, is under team control until 2028, and he's pre-arbitration eligible. He's very young, so you can get him cheap and controllable, which is something Dave Dombrowski always looks for. And it's been announced already by Rob Thompson that Brandon Marsh, when he joins the team on Thursday, he's going to be the everyday center fielder for your Philadelphia Phillies. So no platoon with Matt Vierling, nothing like that. And the next subsequent move was Odubel Herrera was designated for assignment. And that sound you heard around 3:30 Eastern Standard Time, if you're in the Philadelphia area, was every Philadelphia Phillies fan cheering like crazy. He plays an unintelligent brand of baseball. His off-the-field issues were already just a stain on who he is as a person, and it bled over to the fan base perception of who he was as a player. He's not a likable player. He's not a guy that produced all that much for you at the major league level, even though I do think if he clears waivers and is granted his release, we'll end up with another major league team at some point. He's not a winning player. So you move on from him. Finally, he spent way too much time here as it is. And now you bring in a 24-year-old to play that position. And, hey, we'll see what we can get. I'll give you my thought process on Brandon Marsh in the next segment. But another move short after. I couldn't even get through my minute-long reaction video that I had to post before the Phillies made another move, and this one for a familiar face. The Phils got on the phone with the Chicago Cubs and said, hey, you want this young pitcher, Ben Brown? Just got sent up to Double-A. We're progressing him a lot. His strikeout numbers are great. And the Cubs are like, yeah, sure. Who do you want? Phillies said, yeah, we'll take David Robertson back. Now, David Robertson, just with the Phillies a couple years ago, well, if you forgot, that's not your fault. He had major injury issues and barely played at all for the Philadelphia Phillies. And he was an exciting signing when he originally got here and ended up being one of the busts of the past decade, not because of his own fault. His body just failed him. He had injury issues. So why are the Phillies trading for him again? Well, in Chicago this year, he has been absolutely outstanding. He's 37, so he's on the back end of his career. He's on an expiring contract, so you don't have to worry about anything going forward. If you want to bring him back on a one-year deal, you can get him cheap, but there's no financial commitment to him outside of the 2022 season. And he's got a low 2s ERA in over 40 innings pitched. He's been one of the better relievers in baseball. It's been a resurgent year for Robertson, who looks like closer to what he was with the New York Yankees when he was in his prime than the guy whose body fell apart here in Philadelphia. And hey, now he can finally pay back what he owes this city. Not that we really should be holding David Robertson at too much fault, right? Like he wanted to play. It's not like he showed up here and didn't perform. He showed up here and injuries hurt him. But you could tell by his comments when he left and his recent comments as he found out he was potentially coming back. We haven't heard from him since the trade, but we heard some comments recently about if he comes back to Philadelphia. He said he was very open to that. He'd be happy about it because he feels like he owes this fan base for last time, and he wants to give us that opportunity to see him actually pitch. So that'll be great. I'm paraphrasing the quote there, but he was excited about the opportunity when he was asked about it a couple of days ago. And now that it's actually become a reality, well, I'm excited to see David Robertson back here, and hopefully he does everything that we expected from him the first time to earn the trust of this fan base and help this team get in a situation where they can make the playoffs for the first time in a decade. So again, the moves so far on the trade deadline, and nothing breaking yet as we finish up our first segment of Locked On Phillies. We've got Edmundo Sosa for Jojo Romero straight up. We have Logan O'Hoppe for Brandon Marsh straight up with the Los Angeles Angels. And then you have David Robertson for Ben. I keep forgetting Ben's last name. Ben Brown, straight up minor league pitcher there. So Phillies make a couple moves, and that's where we're at. Coming up next, I'm going to break down the thought process from Dave Dombrowski, president of baseball ops for the Philadelphia Phillies, who's pulling the trigger on all these moves, and kind of tell you why some of it kind of went, it was counterintuitive, but it fits ultimately the mold of what this team is at the current time, which is somewhat walking on a tightrope for the 2022 season. I'll explain all of that next in the next segment of Locked On Phillies. All right, let me tell you about my friends over at Built Bar. So let me tell you, this awesome new flavor, this might be my favorite one ever because I'm a big cookie dough guy. Well, Built Bar just introduced the cookie dough chunk puff. Now, the puffs, if you're not familiar with them, they're marshmallows that are protein infused, so they're good for you. They're covered in 100% chocolate, and they have all these incredible gourmet flavors, the latest which is the cookie dough chunk puff. It's so good. So you're going to want to try this. You're going to want to check it out. All the joys of eating cookie dough without the hassle of making it. Plus, it's healthy for you. Listen to some of these numbers. Only 160 calories, 15 grams of protein in them. Run over to Built right now before they sell out. Snag a box of the new cookie dough chunk puffs. And what's great, especially about just Built Bar's protein in general, well, they use collagen protein, which your body absorbs more efficiently and provides tons of health benefits. So you can eat something that tastes good and is good for you. So when you need a snack, a late night treat, or just need to grab a quick bite, Built is the perfect protein bar, and the puffs are perfect for that as well. They taste even better than a candy bar. So go to Built.com, and you can use promo code LOCK15 for 15% off your order. That's promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at Built.com. All right, you already know this, but the trade deadline's going on right now. A lot of stuff. So thanks again for making Locked On Phillies your first listen every day. The MLB Trade Deadline today, 6 o'clock. We're going to have the latest on Locked On MLB. They've got all the breakdowns. Paul Francis Sullivan over there. Sully will have the latest on that. Locked On Phillies will have rapid reactions to any more moves made. Already posted a couple for the trades for Brandon Marsh and David Robertson. So make sure you're checking that out. Subscribe now to your favorite Locked On podcast, which is, of course, Locked On Phillies. And check it out on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you get notified when each episode premieres. You got to stay up to date. Now, in that little break I just took, no breaking news, but the Phillies, couple names they're still in on, it sounds like. Carlos Rodone from the San Francisco Giants, Noah Syndergaard from the Los Angeles Angels. Now, we'll discuss those players if and when the Phillies actually make a move for them. But as of right now, we're just going to stick with the thought process behind the guys that the Philadelphia Phillies have actually traded for. So let's start with the first move. We're going to go in chronological order. Dave Dombrowski decides to move Logan O'Hoppe, one of the Phillies' top prospects, one of the 3 Phillies currently on the top 100 prospects list, for Brandon Marsh, straight up. And you can't look up Brandon Marsh's name without getting a bunch of Brandon Marshall highlights. So that's already annoying. But besides that, I do like this move for a couple of reasons. Now, it's slightly risky. Logan O'Hoppe is one of the best prospects the Phillies have. He's certainly the best position player prospect that the Philadelphia Phillies have. He's up there with Mick Abel, Andrew Painter, Griff McGarry, who are all pitchers, but Logan O'Hoppe, a catcher. So why do I like this? Trading the best position player prospect who's 22 years old and has spent time at AAA, could be Major League ready as early as next year? Well, here's why. JT Realmuto, your all-world catcher, who has been one of the best catchers in baseball over the past month and looks like he's rounding back out into the form. Yeah, he has his slow stretches. He's had some regression. He made some dumb comments about forfeiting money by not playing in Toronto. All of that aside, JT Realmuto is a very, very good Major League catcher. And he is signed by the Philadelphia Phillies through 2025. So it's 2022 right now. You have him for this season and 3 more following this one. Even if O'Hoppe's ready next year, he's going to be blocked by JT Realmuto, and Realmuto plays a lot. He's very durable, and even when he needs days off, it's few and far between. So there's really no place for O'Hoppe on this Major League roster. And with Realmuto locked in until 2025, you could potentially draft a guy in 2023 that will be not ready for the Major League level when JT Realmuto is gone, but could be in AA ready for AAA or even AAA at that point if they progress. So you could also trade for another catching prospect. You could trade for a Major League ready catcher. There's plenty of time to figure out what's going on at the catcher's position prior to JT Realmuto no longer being with this team. So that's why Logan O'Hoppe moves. But what does Brandon Marsh bring to this team? First off, he's got incredible speed. He's a very good defensive outfielder. He will be the everyday center fielder for this team. He's not a plus hitter at the Major League level. We don't even know if he's an average hitter at the Major League level, but last year he batted above 250 and a little bit over 200 at-bats with the Los Angeles Angels. Showed that he belonged a little bit, hit 2 home runs. So far this season, he has 8 home runs. So the power's come around. A nice left-handed bat, quick out of the box, very fast. Seems like everything he hits the outfield is a double. And when he does get hits, that speed is dangerous on the base paths. You're also putting him in a lineup where you've got the hitting component down. The defense is what really needs work, and he certainly brings that. He's also 24, under team control through 2028, pre-arbitration, so he's dirt cheap to get him to play for you and to give him his payment year in and year out. It just all makes sense for Dave Dombrowski, who likes guys who are under team control and is trying to walk that line of Don't make the team too old to reduce your window, but also get guys that can help you now. Logan O'Hoppe was 2 years away from making any impact at the major league level, and even at that point, his impact would have been limited by JT Realmuto here. Instead, you get a guy that's a center field starter. You get to DFA Odubel Herrera, who's one of the least popular players in Philadelphia Phillies history, and now you have a guy that you trust in center field every day to field his position and at least not do anything stupid at the plate. And he's only 24. We'll see how he develops. There's a chance with a ceiling that he becomes an average major league hitter, a plus major league center fielder, and slots in well to a 7, 8, or 9 hole spot with the Philadelphia Phillies. And the power could come around to the point where maybe he's a 15 to 20 home run guy year in and year out at his peak. So there's upside here. And even though O'Hoppe's a good prospect, he didn't quite fit with the Phillies and how they're structured. Now, the Ben Brown move for David Robertson, it's kind of different, right? Because I just said, well, Dave Dombrowski likes team-controlled guys maybe a little bit on the younger side to not reduce that window. And then he trades a 22-year-old that just made it to Double-A in Ben Brown for a 37-year-old David Robertson who's on an expiring contract. It seems counterintuitive to what I was just saying. Well, yeah, because there's a tightrope the Phillies are walking. I'll tell you about that in a second. But first, let's talk about this specific trade. So Ben Brown has great strikeout numbers. He literally just made it to Double-A a couple days ago. Other than that, it's high A ball, rookie ball. That's all we've really seen him. He's 22. He's not a highly touted prospect as far as his pedigree and draft position and everything there. So it's not like he's a former first-round guy that you're waiting to see what he is. And you don't know if those guys are going to work out. Like, we haven't really even seen him at Double-A yet, much less a full season of Double-A, Triple-A, what this guy potentially could be at the major league level. And he has high upside because of his strikeout ability, but he's a long way away. And he's already 22, which isn't ancient, but it's not young. Yeah, I'm cool with moving Ben Brown for something that can help you currently. I'm not losing my mind over Ben Brown not being in the system anymore. Just because he's so far away, it's a shot in the dark. David Robertson is a guy that you know can help you now, is a guy that's been in high leverage situations for playoff teams in the past, and he's a guy that, frankly, owes you a little bit of something. And a motivated player is a good player. Coming back to Philadelphia, where he feels like he owes the fan base something, and I do believe David Robertson feels that way after missing so much time due to injury in his first stopover in Philadelphia, yeah, that'll help you out. And what it also means, where Brandon Marsh filled the hole that Odubel Herrera had left there in center field when he got DFA'd, well, now Jeurys Familia gets DFA'd. We don't have to worry about that anymore. So start the party. Jeurys Familia getting sent down, Odubel Herrera getting sent down. What a banner day for the Philadelphia Phillies, just based on that alone. And David Robertson, who has a low 2 ERA, is a guy that now you can supplement Jose Alvarado and Sir Anthony Dominguez and Brad Hand and Andrew Bellotti and, yeah, guys like that are in the bullpen right now. I'm missing somebody, but you get my point. Connor Brogdon, you supplement a good bullpen with another great bullpen arm. You remove Jeurys Familia. It's a huge plus for the Philadelphia Phillies there. And the prospect you gave up, there's no knowing if it'll ever be anything. So it's kind of a balance between going in for this year and keeping guys so your window stays open. Why is Dave Dombrowski doing that? Well, I told you the thought process behind each individual move. And shortly in our final segment, I'm going to tell you, well, exactly what the line is that Dave Dombrowski is walking here. We'll wrap up with that on Locked On Phillies. And just like that, well, we've got some breaking news. Noah Syndergaard has been traded to the Philadelphia Phillies. The Phillies move Mickey Moniak and another prospect that has not yet been named that I've seen for Noah Syndergaard from the Los Angeles Angels. So the trade deadline, well, the Phillies, a great deadline. You DFA Odubel Herrera. You DFA Jeurys Familia. You bring in a great reliever in David Robertson. You bring in a solid young center field up-and-comer with a solid ceiling at the major league level, and Brandon Marsh, who's going to play that position every day for you and add to the defense in this outfield. It also allows Matt Vierling to potentially play in the corners occasionally, put Kyle Schwarber or Nick Castellanos at DH, and make the entire outfield defense better. And then you go and you round out your rotation with Noah Syndergaard. And when you replace Zach Eflin with Noah Syndergaard, especially when Zach Eflin isn't available, that's an upgrade. This is now a rotation that has Wheeler, Nola, Gibson, Suarez, Syndergaard. That's a playoff rotation. This is a bullpen that has Robertson, Alvarado, Bilotti, Hand, Dominguez, Brogdon. That is a playoff bullpen. You have a lineup that has a real center fielder to go along with Castellanos, Schwarber, Realmuto, Hoskins, Bohm, Stott, Harper coming back at some point, Segura coming back on Thursday. This is a playoff team, and what Dave Dombrowski did at the trade deadline was walk the beautiful tightrope between, hey, I need to make the playoffs this year, or this fan base is going to lose their mind, not making the playoffs for 11 straight years, but I also can't mortgage the future because it's not a win-now team. He walked that line perfectly, and just I couldn't be more excited with the limited resource the Phillies have and where they're at right now. I think Dave Dombrowski did an excellent job at the trade deadline to get Syndergaard, to get Marsh, to get Robertson, and to get Sosa. Let's not forget about him, even though it was a couple days ago. Hey, let's go win a third or second wild card spot. Let's go compete for the division. Let's go beat the Braves tonight. But just a wonderful day for the Philadelphia Phillies in general. Odubel, Herrera, hopefully gone forever. Jeurys, Familia, hopefully gone forever. Some good players in return. That's a trade deadline, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank you for making Locked On Phillies your first listen every day. Now make your second listen Locked On MLB. And Paul Francis Sullivan will cut you up on everything. My mind's going a mile a minute. My phone's blowing up. Paul Francis Sullivan will cover all of it. Locked On MLB. It's available wherever you get your podcasts. And I'll be back with you tomorrow to talk about, the Brave series and flesh out where the Phillies are after these moves a little bit more. But a fun day, and I will talk to you then.